Welcome to Decades of Horror, the classic era.
What did I ask from you? A little affection, and mostly peace, and see what you made me do.
This is episode 131, recorded August 6th, 2022.
Gruesome Magazine.
I am your host, Jeff Mohr. On this podcast, we cover the good, the bad, and maybe even the ugly horror films released since the beginning of time through 1969. In each episode, we'll discuss the monsters, spirits, psychos, and villains that have haunted movie-going audiences since the dawn of film history. Woo! On Decades of Horror, the classic era, we partner with Play Now Media on 3 of their channels: the Classic Sci-Fi Movie Channel, the Classic Horror Movie Channel, and the Wicked Horror TV Channel. Each of those channels now include episodes of Decades of Horror, the classic era. So you can watch them there. They're available on Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, Android TV. There's online website across all the OTT platforms. So check it out. There's a lot of stuff on there. And this particular movie that we're doing today is on the Classic Horror Movie Channel and the Wicked Horror TV Channel. So with me this week are my incredible co-host, Whitney Collazo, an accomplished artist, makeup artist, and writer. How you doing today, Whitney?
I'm all right. How are you doing?
I'm good. We're recording this on a Saturday morning, which is not usual.
Different.
So glad everybody could make it. Also with us is Daphne, who's awesome, stupendous, and likable as hell. Daphne, how you doing?
Hi guys, I'm great. My cat alarm clock goes off usually around 4:30ish. Doesn't have a snooze, so it works fine for me.
Okay.
I've been up for a while.
Oh gosh.
Well, I thought you had told me that, so I thought that would work it out. But we are spanning the continent.
Yep.
We got East Coast, West Coast, and right
North,
splat
mid,
in the middle
south.
here.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Chad Hunt cannot be with us today. He has no voice. The man of 1,000 voices
has no voice.
Just has no voice. Okay, but he should be back. So spoiler alert, again, we're doing a movie that's 62 years old. So if you haven't seen it, go check it out. It is available. I believe it's on YouTube as well. And it's available as a Blu-ray. So we'll get to it. On this podcast, we start out by giving some basic details of the film that we're covering, and then we follow that up with first impressions, and then kind of move into a general discussion of whatever kind of sparked us while we watched the movie. So our topic today is the skeleton of Mrs. Morales. Mexican film from 1960, directed by Rogelio Gonzalez, written by Luis Alcariza, from an Arthur Machen story, The Islington Mystery. Cast includes Arturo de Cordova, Amparo Revellas, Elda Peralta, Antonio Brava, Rosenda Monteros, and Guillermo Orea. Production company is Alpha Films SA, South America, I believe. Is that filmed in Mexico, released May 26th, 1960, and sometime in 1960 in the U.S. it was available, also known as El Esqueleto de la Señora Morales. That's the original title, which is, I assume, the skeleton of Mrs. Morales.
Mm-hmm.
The synopsis of this film: a taxidermist decides to murder his wife after having to put up with her after 20 years of hellish marriage.
Can I just say I love the photo right there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Not photo, but I love that. That's such a great shot. I think that really captures it. That's so funny.
So, yeah, this is a dark comedy. It might be a little bit of a stretch to call it horror. It sort of fits into Alfred Hitchcock mold, the comedic of those, or even the TV show. But so we'll find out. That's part of the skeleton of Mrs. Morales, and the local padre sees it as he's walking by the window of the taxidermist shop. So he not only does taxidermy, but he also like cleans skeletons for the local medical students, apparently. So.
And those bags there up front by the window, he also does fertilizer.
Yes.
He also sells fertilizer.
So he gathers trash, burns it, and crushes up bones, and sells bags of fertilizer for $2 a bag.
Just a side gig.
Yeah. Okay. So we show a couple posters here first, just because I like. And there's not a lot of variety on these. This was the only thing I could see that seemed like a poster.
Yeah. It's good.
And I love that. It's almost like a black light.
Yep.
Yeah.
Black velvet painting kind of thing, you know.
Totally. And I love the yellow for the script.
Yeah.
It looks great.
Yes.
And then this is the Blu-ray cover.
Yeah.
Which takes advantage of the same drawing, slightly different emphasis. And
I
there's something in the back. Yeah.
I love how there's a bow on this.
I know. It's so it just really captures the feel of it really well. Yeah.
It's funny. Go on, Jeff. I'm sorry.
No, that's good. That's good. So yeah, there's a Blu-ray available of this. It's there's no extras on it, but it's good images and good translations. It's subtitled, not dubbed. So let's get to first impressions. And since this is Whitney's pick, we'll hear from her first. Whitney, when did you first hear about this or see this? And what did you think?
Okay. First time I heard about it was when you asked me if I have heard of this movie, and I was not familiar, and I ended up running it by my dad and asking him if he has heard of it. He said he hasn't seen it. He may have heard of it, wasn't sure. So I sent him the information to see if he would watch it. I don't know if he's seen it by now or not, but that will be my next conversation with him, I guess. But yes, because of Jeff Mohr, I thought, this is a title that I'm interested in. Let's give this one a look. And man, there's this thing in a lot of communities that's said, like, los tóxicos, like there's a lot of those in here, which are like toxic people. So there's a lot of that going on in this movie. And my impressions of this is that, like, you know, you have a relationship, husband and wife, and it's just they feed off of each other in this weird way. It's just not a very good relationship. They have certain individuals in the community that get involved in their relationship. They're invested. Chismosas, like nosy people. Yeah. And it's just not good all around. But there's a humor to it. Like you said, it's a black comedy. So, and it just leads up to a lot of, you know, just the relationships are not healthy. And then it leads to, you know, this murder, this crime that the husband does. And I'm just astounded by how it kind of took a novella, like, kind of story as far as like Mexican soap operas or something, but made it into like a humorous way. So that's just what I took from this is they kind of put humor into how some people would reflect on certain relationships within themselves and communities.
Okay. Yeah. And just to fill in some of the backstory, I had talked to our patron there at Play Now Media and asked him if he'd let me know when he got foreign films in. And so he told me they were working on translating that into their system. And so then I watched it and I think I asked you if you'd seen it. And then when it was up, I watched it and thought it was a fun movie. So interesting to hear some of the stuff you're saying from a cultural point of view. So I'll look forward to some more of that. Daphne, how about you? Had you seen or heard of this before?
Nope, haven't seen it or heard of it. And like so many times before, I'm so glad to be able to watch stuff I hadn't seen before, because I really, really like this movie. I love this movie. There was so much atmosphere. I loved how it did the grim and the playful. It was beautifully shot. I just really enjoyed it a lot. I'm super excited to talk about it and also hear about how it, its relationship to the novellas and stuff like that, and how that might be incorporated into some of the storytelling. But I thought it was great, and I'm really glad that they have it on the streaming, because it's really good.
Yeah, I agree. Again, I hadn't heard of it either until Michael pointed it out to me, and so I was kind of excited to watch it. And it really, I didn't say it. I tried to find taglines, and I don't know if it's a Mexican thing, but none of the posters I could find had taglines on them. The Blu-ray cover doesn't have taglines on them. I watched like 4 different trailers. There's no taglines. It's just cut together clips of the movie with the title and the director at the end, kind of. So the only thing I could find was one of them that said a darkly comedic murder, which it is. Mm-hmm. So for me, it got funnier every time I watched it, because I feel like I wasn't, reading the subtitles, I wasn't always catching the humor, and we'll talk about some of those instances later. But I really enjoyed this. And because we had to reschedule this, I ended up watching this, I think, like 3 times. And each time I got a little more out of it, in terms of the culture, in terms of the comedy, and the relationship and the people, etc. So I really enjoyed this. It may be a stretch to call it a horror film, but it's
it's dark.
But it is dark, and it's a murder, and there's there's some disturbing things that happen.
Well, earlier, before we started recording, you kind of talked about how it's similar to how Hitchcock tells some dark humor, and I think that's totally true, because it's very, I don't know, subtle. It's not like slapstick, but it's definitely there, and it gets that dark humor, kind of like, oh my God, I'm laughing at this. I'm laughing really hard at some of the stuff that's going on, and I liked it a lot. I like that about its character.
I feel like it has a vibe of like Arsenic and Old Lace almost.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, that's a very good comparison.
It had that twist like you expect in Alfred Hitchcock a lot of times. So in his darker humor type shows, you would expect a twist at the end, where and that happens. But this movie, I was thinking about it, it's like the first act where you sort of learn their relationship, and the Mr. and Mrs. Morales, and then the second act is when you really see the depths to what Mrs. Morales is going to, and the murder actually, I would say, is at the end of the second act. And then there's a tip off where what the twist is going to be, like 2/3 of the way through the movie. You kind of see it coming, so you're just sort of waiting for it to unfold and see what happens. At least for me, when they show that bottle of poison in the cupboard, or the bottle of but I don't know what it is, brandy, in the cupboard, that we know he's poisoned. He forgets to dispose of that.
But I was thinking about that too, Jeff, and I saw that, and I remember thinking, okay, definitely. But I kind of actually even forgot about it because it was so, I don't know, I felt like the characters were so good, and the acting and everything, the story was so good that I just kind of was focusing on that. I wasn't distracted trying to figure out, okay, what's going to happen or how's he going to get caught or anything like that. I just was. And so when you see that come out, you're like, oh my God, that's right. I forgot he left that there. And I liked that it was like, oh yeah, they showed us that. I knew that was coming, and this is it.
Yeah.
This is when it's going to happen. It's going to happen.
Well,
yeah, in a way, you don't really know what's going to happen. You just know it's sort of like Chekhov's gun. We know that's going to come back.
That's going to come back, yeah.
And it's kind of a neat shot because they show the bottles in the cupboard, and they show a shot from behind the cupboard like you're looking through the wall.
Yeah.
And you see the bottle sitting there with the closed cupboard doors on the other side. So that's kind of there's some other shots like that are interesting. Yeah. So for me, the humor that I got, and I didn't get it right off the bat, is the recurring jokes. One was there's the Padre, and I'm just going to put these up so it'll talk about it. Played by Antonio Bravo. He's got these two local women that cluster around him like little birds, you know.
Yep.
There's that one scene where he's ringing the doorbell, knocking on the door, and they keep running around from one side to the other, like
so nosy.
And I think Pablo, Dr. Morales, actually calls them in one scene. He calls them the mummies.
Yeah.
They have those scarves pulled tight all the time. But the thing I didn't get was the one who is like has bladder problems. I think I must have missed that line the first time through where somebody goes, "Oh, poor thing, ever since she had bladder surgery." So in every scene, she's always running off to go to the bathroom.
So funny.
And sometimes they show her crossing her ankles beforehand. So
hilarious. It's just so silly. I actually thought of that before we started recording. I said, "Oh, I have to go to the bathroom." I actually was like, "Oh, I'm turning into that lady I'm turning into the younger lady."
She is also me. Yes, I feel that way sometimes too.
They were funny. The three of them were funny.
That's why I felt like the characters were so I don't know, they had a little bit of depth to them, even though they were kind of just there for humor and stuff. And I appreciated that kind of stuff too.
Well, the other piece I kept missing was the church council president, the historian. He would, in every scene he was in, he would start this monologue by saying, "Well, as a historian, you know," and then everybody would get sick of hearing this and interrupt him to say what he was going to say, you know. And by the end, you see him getting kind of exasperated with him. But I didn't catch that. It's one of those, it's like repeated jokes that I just for some reason didn't get the first time I was watching it and reading the subtitles and stuff. But good stuff. So the two husband and wife, the wife is played by Amparo Rivas, and I'm just showing like the upper right shot is her like being, "Oh, poor pitiful me," and then the other ones she's like getting mad at him, and I thought she did a phenomenal job. What did you guys think?
I agree. I thought she was great. She was great. Even that picture that you have though comparing, I mean, she looks like a different person, but she is definitely the same person. You see those two sides of her, and you believe that she knows what she's doing.
Oh yeah.
And I was just what really kind of struck me was when she was in the bath, and you kind of. And he walks into her in the bath, and I just felt like there was all of a sudden there was like a lot of sensuality about her, and it just kind of changed it a little bit, and I just felt like she was like a woman, you know, and I felt like it added a little bit more to their relationship, and them being married for so long together. And I just really appreciated seeing that this character, wasn't just flat, this stereotypical kind of religious woman.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really, really good. I liked her a lot. I thought she did great. And in the beginning, I didn't know what to think of her because she's just so cold and everything. And you don't like her, but I thought she did really great.
Yeah, she really was. Wow. Yeah, she was pretty powerful in the way she had shown who she was, and just some of the things that she did. It was almost shocking, like, to find some of the discoveries of how she was, who she was. I mean, even from the simplest forms in conversation that's normal for a relationship, for a marriage, especially for the time when they're not happy together, but also she's very much, yes, like you said, religious, and she says to him how she feels about divorce, till death do they part, and all of that. And then it is a forced relationship, obviously, you can tell, but also the way she was and how she was expressive with that, it was really crazy to see just the simplest things, even when you thought she was innocent in a way, but when you find out that she was very much she was planning certain things in her own way, like how she turn around and you see when she's talking among the people, the communities, the women, those and then the father, the priest, and then there's a reveal of her saying, with her being beat up and bruised, saying Pablo did this, but did he really do that? No. So it was just I don't know, just some of the crazy little things that it's not just Pablo who's done some awful things. She almost even poisoned his pet, his bird that was in his little area.
Yeah. Even like you were talking about, like the little things, it was like how was her name Meche?
Yes. I was going to mention that.
That was what totally popped in my head when you were talking, was just the power. I mean, she didn't have to say anything, but there was electricity that it was like,
there was a vibe.
I have to talk afterwards. And it was like, ooh, everybody in this room right now knows that shit's gonna go down. Just little stuff like that. Yeah.
Well, we get the early scene. I think one of the first scenes is her sort of sobbing to the padre, I think.
Yes.
About her husband and how he's just so mean to her, and he drinks all the time, and he's always drunk, and he even says bad things about you, padre, and but don't tell him I told you. Oh, please don't tell him I told you. He'll take it out on me. And you're thinking, wow, this guy's a real jerk. And then the first scene you see of him is this one, where he's having a great time playing with these kids out in the courtyard. And you're thinking, well, sometimes people are different at home, and but then you find out later. I mean, one of the things that struck me about this is some people are, passive aggressive on. I think they just kind of learn that behavior, that somehow that's the way they get their way. So they're not consciously. I don't think. It's not like a conscious conspiracy thing. That's just the way they are. But boy, she is consciously doing stuff, like she'll fluff up her hair and put drops in her eyes to make her eyes look red when somebody's coming over, and then she goes into her sobbing thing, and she tries to poison his eagle, and fires Michi, and what else? There was something else.
Well, she runs around screaming,
yeah.
don't hit me.
Yes.
She starts screaming, "Don't hit me! Don't hit me!
Yeah.
Don't hit me!" And he's looking
Yeah.
at her like she's crazy. So he
Right.
leaves.
Yeah.
And
Right.
then when he comes back, she's like hurt herself
That, yes.
to
Uh-huh.
and
Yeah.
got the neighbors to
Oh.
call her sister.
Well, and when you said firing Miche, she says to Meche, who's going to believe you? They're going to
Yeah.
believe me.
And she even
Who-
said
who's
she
they're
would
gonna
tell
believe?
lies on her,
Yeah.
And it's funny because in the beginning when you see Miche talking and having, her the way she's carrying herself with her job, and then there's a certain thought process when you see someone looking at someone a certain way, especially with Pablo, and she's making breakfast or whatever, even later on, he says to her some of the humor, oh, now that she's gone, about his wife Gloria, and then he mentions he wants this big steak. Instead, you think that there's a relationship between him and her.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go back to where Gloria says that she's going to lie on Miche and say oh, I could just say, there was something between you two, which is funny because you kind of get the impression maybe something like that is going on until you see that humor where he says, now that she's gone.
Right. Yeah.
And it changes to food.
Yeah,
they do have a special relationship, but it's around.
They do.
Yeah, but it's around living life. Yeah.
Yes.
It's really misleading, but in a legitimate way. They're looking at each other like sideways glances that that she doesn't, or you don't think his wife notices, and that whole scene where she leaves and then he runs upstairs all excited and she's gone. Now we can now we can have some good food, because I don't understand. Well, let's I don't
think
understand
part of why he mentions the steak and wanting good food is because that's something that Gloria had with him, was talking to him about the way he ate. She said something to him, I don't know how you can eat this. It's no different than how do you look at that differently than you do looking at the animals that you basically tear apart, and something of that nature. She was just constantly talking to him about his job being just so terrible the way he does with animals, and how can he eat animals or something like that. So, and I guess while she was away, that was his way of saying, I just want I want that.
But I like how that was played for humor, and how it was obviously pumping you up to think that, and then you're like, oh, that it just made it funnier and more of this is what this movie is. This is what you think. Well, I was gonna say, this is what you think this movie is going to be like, but it is part of what this movie is going to be like. It's just becomes really, really dark.
Yes,
but it is also really funny and silly almost. And I was trying to think of words that's very playful. It's a very playful movie, but it's about a man who kills his wife.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I find myself sympathizing with Pablo the whole way through until he kills her.
Yeah.
And then when he's assembling the skeleton, there's some disturbing scenes there. We see, there's one scene, and I couldn't find a picture of it, where there's this table in his workshop and there's a deer on it. And it's been gutted, and he flips it over and starts sawing on it, I think, and breaking the joints, and he starts skinning it. And his wife comes downstairs and gives him a hard time about it. And then later on, the next time we see an animal on this table, it's his wife.
Yeah.
And we know what's going to happen next, because we just saw it.
Yeah,
exactly.
And all the cutting through the joints and the skinning and all that stuff. Anyway.
And they went to a lot of effort to make you see that what he was doing to that elk or deer or whatever, because then it's so easy to imagine that she would, like you said, she was on the slab next. And I loved that. Even when watching it, I loved that all of a sudden you're like, wait a second, he's being, I don't know about how I feel about him anymore, because of that. And I really appreciated that.
Like, even with
go ahead.
Oh, well, especially when like when they would talk about how they would be together or eating or anything, and then she would constantly, when Gloria was alive, she would constantly nag about, put your hands on alcohol, like, because she couldn't stand the smell or whatever. But then when he finally does what he's doing to her, what he's about to do to her, he sees the alcohol, and then he starts rubbing and cleaning his hands. He's like, is this better now?
Yeah. It's like, ooh, I mean, I can understand why you would do that, Pablo, but ouch,
Yeah.
Well,
that's a burn.
Well, I feel sympathy for him all the way up, because she's like, I don't understand what her end game is, because it seems like her whole goal is to make his life miserable.
That's what I gathered.
She says things like, I don't know why you don't like me. I can tell you don't like to be around me. But then from the second he walked in the door, he drinks too much. You smell of death. You have to wash with rubbing alcohol.
Yes.
How can you eat those dismembered, rotting animals? And you have a horrible career. Take your hat off. Don't touch me. It just goes on and on and on. And then when he says, well, I should probably leave you then, and
let's get a divorce.
Nope, we're not doing that. So
she was conflicting with that. She really was. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he and then the total loss of sympathy is that line that Whitney did at the beginning of the show, where he's putting the skeleton together. And we do get a nice shot of him. I don't know if he's pouring acid or bleach or whatever it is on the bones to clean them off in some barrel. But he's putting it together, and he's talking to the skull when he says, all I wanted was a little affection and peace. And look what you made me do. It's like, oh, no, wait a minute.
You're like, and I really, really liked that. I love that there was, like, made you go, wait a second. I don't want any part of this. It's like, I don't want. And also when he was hanging out with his friends at the bar, and he was like talking about, the best way to get away with murder. And then, it's kind of like, what's going on here? But you do see him kind of incorporating it into his plan, because you're like, why would he use that leg? Why would he make it obvious if he was trying to hide this? And so that he's pushing to. He's got it planned out. He knows what he's going to do. And way more thought went into it.
Yeah. So she has.
And he's even talking to, he even said, like, even if he got caught, there's so much time to have in the cell to even write, write books, write stuff. Like he just knows, matter of fact, if it were to happen, he knows what he's going to do.
Yep. He has thought about this.
Yes.
maybe not consciously in this way, but he, he's not a happy man, and he's thought about
and she has so turned her sister and brother-in-law against him that the guy conks him over the head. First he threatens him with a gun. You're not going to leave her, or I'm going to come and get you.
Right.
And so you could kind of see how he feels he has no recourse, but
although I gotta say, in that scene when he's, after he's killed her and she's disappeared, and her sister comes to investigate, I thought it was funny how quickly they believed that she would just run out on them. He's telling her, she was saying things about you too, and she just wanted to get away, and how quickly her sister was like, I just felt like, you believe that really quick. How do you feel about your sister? What do you know about your sister?
Well, she accuses him of being drunk all the time, but you don't really, it never really seems like he's he's not really drunk. He may be boisterous drunk. He drinks a lot, but you never see him drink, like with a bunch of empty bottles around or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's like even when he's in the bar, he's having one beer. And when he's at home, he sneaks a shot here and there is what it looks like. But,
right.
Even the night that he has killed her, he's working on her body. His friends come up and he almost denies them, So I don't know if that says anything, but then,
he's played by Arturo de Cordova, and he's got lots of different faces in this too. He's very
expressive.
I think he does a really good job.
Yeah, so good. He goes from being so warm to so kind of calculating, but still kind of charisma. Yeah, still very charismatic, even in the jail cell. It's like,
even towards like the end, like when he meets the father and he says that he has a confession, even his attitude towards him then when he finally admits it, even the look on his face when he says, it'd be double jeopardy if you mention this about me, he's just he plays too much.
Yep.
So Arturo de Cordova won 3 silver Ariels for Best Actor in Mexico, sort of the Mexican version of the Oscar, right? Amparo Reyes, who plays his wife Gloria, is actually from Spain, and she won a long list of different awards in Spain, which I'm not even going to try to pronounce, and was even on a stamp in 2016. So, anyway, good. Obviously a good cast. We haven't mentioned. So the maid was played by Rosenda Monteros, and she too does a really good job. You can see in her that's when they're conspiring over what they're going to have to eat. His next line is, "I want a steak this thick," and he turns to the camera. But she was in The Magnificent Seven. And in a film called The Cauldron of Blood and She. So yeah, people may recognize her.
Yeah, and then even Arthur, I couldn't get the list up, but I was trying to see. He was also in some American films for a little bit too, not just stuff in Mexico. Which is
De Cordova.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he looks like a very. I mean, his IMDb picture looks like a almost like a dapper Latin Romeo or something. So yeah, it's a good cast. We already talked about the Padre. Yeah, she's battered by good old Gloria. I mean, not physically, but I mean, when he comes in that one time, she comes out of the kitchen and she's crying. So that she's done something to her.
And he knows why she was crying. I mean, he knows that this is the environment of the house. And she even says, I'm going to quit. And he's like, stay for me. When they're kind of building that kind of, well, what is their relationship? And he's like saying that, but it's like, no, stay for me because I can't live here like this.
Yeah. And you still don't really know exactly. What their relationship is until you get to the food. And then she likes to, I think she feels sorry for him because she sees how he's treated as well. Definitely. So she tries to give him a beer with dinner. And that's when Gloria's like, we're going to talk later. But you have to wash your hand. He's savoring this steak, and first she gets on him for, you need to wash your hands with alcohol.
Right.
And
Which, that's just when she kept saying that, I was just like, oh, like this is what your partner is saying to you. Like, you need to sterilize yourself before you even touch me, touch anything else. You're so, dirty. And it's just like, oh, ow, that's ice. That's cool.
yeah. And he's like,
Yeah.
no, I'm not gonna
Right.
do that because it's gonna stink. It's gonna ruin
Right. I can't enjoy my steak.
the steak. So then she starts harping on the rotting flesh, like the animals you
Mhm.
deal with, and that's what he's like. Oh, and then she starts gagging.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that makes him start gagging. That's just she is
So
relentless.
melodramatic.
She is so relentless.
But because of the drama, because of her attitude, it almost makes me feel like, like I said in the beginning of my impression, I thought, okay, there's a lot of like soap operas, like novellas from Mexico, where you see the woman is very dramatic, and especially in the bad relationship, and has, it's just sort of a stereotypical thing. And like, oh my gosh, they did this with this movie, but made it really dark.
Right. Yeah, they're saying something about this character, this stereotype, this person. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing I kind of wanted to mention too is that the where did I put it? The writer is Luis Alcarita, and he also has a lot of awards and was also a director. He won 6 Ariel Awards for Best Director, Best Screenplay, Best Original Story, Best Picture, that he was writer, director on, that kind of thing. So I think that the script has a lot to do with this. And also the cinematography. And I've got a bunch of pictures that we can look at. I just thought it was incredible. And the cinematographer's name was Victor Herrera, and I don't know anything about him. There's no info in his bio. He won a silver Ariel in 1946 for La Barraca. Anyway, I just thought it was great. So I already showed the one with the kids. I thought this was a great shot.
Yes.
The foot tapping also with that shot. Yeah.
The perspective and
yeah. And I don't know if it was the cinematographer or the director that was part of that, but there are several scenes like that. In the beginning, when in that scene when you're talking about, when the Gloria's talking to the priest, and it actually comes from behind her, the bed, the headboard of the bed, and comes in and takes that. So you just kind of see their conversation from outside. Yeah. In a similar way as you were talking about the liquor that's been poisoned in the cabinet. So many cool shots like that to show the shadows and the textures. And it was really beautiful. The lighting, so atmospheric.
Yeah. It's that's what's neat about somebody that knows what they're doing with black and white when they use the light and shadows. I thought this was a cool shot too.
Oh God,
with the corkscrewed antelope head over him and spine, I guess. And you can, the look on his face is one of, I think that's when he's working on her. And he hears a noise or something. His friends come to the door or something.
Could be.
But his workshop is really full of strange stuff.
Yeah. I like that you wrote down the production design, because I was just blown away with the set design and both of their house and their village, as well as the city, the more modern style of like the woman from the photography shop, the photographer, her apartment, and her living in the city and running the shop, a much more modern way than what his life is like daily in I just the comparison was very striking, and you got the feel of how different the worlds were.
Oh, definitely.
Well, the set designer, Edward Fitzgerald, production designer, he also had won 3 silver Ariels and was nominated 4 other times.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it was so good.
It really was impressive.
Well, the director, when I was looking at some of his lists of some of the stuff that he's worked on, he's definitely familiar with dark comedy mysteries and things like that, like when you're fusing them together, because there was a title that I vaguely remembered, which is like two ghosts and one guy or one man, which is like Dos Fantasmas and una muchacha, and so that's one of the director's movies too, of that's under that same, it's not a dark comedy, but I was looking at it recently where there's fantasy, there's some like comedy to it. So just to kind of throw it out there about the director, he's familiar with that kind of work. And that was just a year before this release. It was 1959.
Yeah, I saw that there were a couple of titles that I wrote down because I want to see them, because they sounded
here.
Yeah, because he like, I know he had quite a few things, but there was a couple that were clearly like ghost story or a little bit of horror that I wrote down. I would love to see. I thought the directing was so amazing.
Yes.
I just right away from like the shots, and I'm sorry, you're going to say something, Jeff?
Oh, it just hit me. I forgot to write this down in the notes. He also directed The Ship of Monsters.
I saw that.
I wrote down. Yeah,
yes.
Which is an awesome film. That's an awesome. We did that on Classic here fairly early on. I think.
Did you?
Like around episode 20 or something. It is hilarious.
Yeah, I wrote it. I wrote it down to watch it.
It kind of fits into those Santo movie type things where it's just insane. It makes no sense at all. These aliens come to the planet and they bring these monsters with them, and they alien women from Venus. Yeah.
What I wrote down when I wrote down these movies for the Ship of Monsters, it was genuinely jaw-dropping. It was one of the quotes, and then sci-fi / horror / musical / comedy / western / romance. I was like, I've got to see this. And I mean, I've listened to all the podcasts. I got to go back and listen to that Ship of Monsters, because I didn't recognize it as one you guys had done before. So cool.
It's absolutely hilarious. Back in the audio days with I'm pretty sure Joseph Perry chose it. He was always bringing those to us.
No, I noticed that one and I almost forgot to mention it. But yes, I just wanted to say, like, this director is familiar with like outlandish and just like the combination of things, because he definitely can do drama. He can definitely.
Well, that came out the same year.
Yeah.
Ship of Monsters and Skeleton Mrs. Morales were the same year, 1960. So definitely somebody worth checking out.
Well, and like you're saying, Whitney, he clearly knows what he's doing. Like, I was really excited when I saw that there was other things, because I thought he did so good in this movie that I was like, he knows how to tell these stories. And just even like
you get lost in these characters. You don't I mean, like Jeff said, he watched it and didn't think about taglines, and that's the thing. You just get lost in knowing that these are real people. It's not a ghost. There's no monster. These are real people. They're just they're just quirky, and there's something not right. It's just a toxic environment, and you're invested in that.
Right. And even though they're kind of over the top, they're not really that far over the top. Like, they're still a human being. Like, you can totally see it as real, genuine characters. And one of the scenes that really drew me in was the scene when he's working on taking care of his wife's body, and he's leaning over it with that hawk next to him. Like, they're just buddies in on this together. And they're both like the the hawk is licking his chops, while and it is just like, oh my God, this is so good. Yeah. And they're just both looking down at her body, it's just great.
She decides to poison the bird and just like dumps piles of strychnine on these chunks of meat.
I know.
And then we see, which is a real nice shot too, as she's trying to get the bird to eat it, we see Mitchie kneeling down on the stairs watching her behind her. And then she suddenly cries out, what are you doing?
Yeah, she stopped her from doing it. Yeah. No, I thought that was such a great scene with the hawk. I'm not sure, but I think that Pablo maybe even winked at the hawk. I'm not sure, but it was like this. They were buddies against her, and they were both
kind of like
I know.
She got hers.
Yeah.
So, this shot is she's playing up her poor pitiful me thing with her sister. Somewhere I had that Angelinas Fernandez. Angelinas. Yeah. So, and she did a real good job playing a very stern character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you see the look on his face when he decides he's going to do something about this.
Yeah.
And shortly after that, he's got the bandage on his head from when his brother-in-law hit him over the head with the gun for no real reason. I mean,
No.
Because his wife's lying about that he had beat her, I guess. He just comes up behind him and hits him over the head. And I don't know what he's taking, but he mixes multiple things together.
Yeah. And you notice in the beginning, she has this concoction. I don't know if it's milk, but she has like eggs, and then Mitchie gives it to her.
She's making egg cream, I think.
Or something. Yeah, it's like milk and eggs or something. And then like that's what he uses. Like you see him injecting this stuff in the egg, and like, oh my gosh, he's really doing this.
Yeah. Yeah. He knows her routine. He knows they know each other. They've been together for 20 plus years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there he's injecting something. I don't know. He does the egg, but he does, I think he does some fruit and or some rolls. Or
that's right. He does
pretty much everything, I think, in the kitchen. Like he had in there.
He just wants to make sure that she consumes whatever. And
But you're right, Jeff. He did a really good job on that one that you had where he was just kind of looking at all the poisons. Like he's thinking, he's like, okay, am I going to do this? And he decides, he decides yes. And then he just starts mixing it up, and I thought it was great.
Yeah. There's no real, most of them, we don't get to see the labels.
No.
I wanted to ask Whitney, because I was trying to see, there's one time where he's downstairs working and he takes a bottle off the shelf and pulls the plug and then goes, and I think the label on the bottle says agua. I think
I missed that.
He didn't act like he was drinking water.
No.
I thought, did he put tequila in that bottle or vodka or something?
I'm pretty sure it was alcohol, but I missed the label. I just assumed it was alcohol.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if it says agua, if it says that it's water and he made that, that's hilarious.
That is
funny. I got to check it again.
What
it
a
was
little detail that is so funny.
Maybe it was agave or something.
What?
Agave. Well, no, probably.
I don't know. All I could see is AG, and I thought, I'll bet it's agua.
Maybe.
So, anyway.
That's funny. That would be funny. But agave, like if it's like a nectar or something, usually that's darker.
So this is when he's sitting there with this skeleton that he's working on.
Yeah.
And I love that bug-eyed mountain lion leaning over.
Oh, I know.
That was the craziest stuff.
Oh man.
But they're all there going, where's my sister?
Right,
where's my sister? Where is she? Oh, well, she, first he says she went to visit an aunt, and when they confront him on that, then he goes, "Oh no, well, she went to the convent."
Well, and she even used it. He said something that he knew was a lie. He knew as soon as his sister would find, like he made up this aunt or something.
Yeah.
It's like, who is this? So like he purposely said something he knew he would get called out on.
But it shows him like these kids are playing around in his workshop.
Oh,
and he's fitting together this skeleton.
Yeah, that is his wife.
Really weird. Parts of it are his wife.
Weird.
I don't know.
Right.
Well, she
You're
had,
right,
and we've kind of talked about it, but she had tuberculosis, the kind that affects your joints, and her knee is all misshapen and deformed or something. And she refuses. Her reason for not having kids, he wants to have kids. She won't have kids because they're going to turn out like me. And he goes, but it's not hereditary. You caught a disease, and she just won't. Well, but God punish me. You know more than God. And so he goes, well, the doctors do.
Well, she doesn't like kids because she says a couple of things, like when they're making noise outside or something. She's so it works out well for her that she can say these things,
Well, I like the trial was interesting too, I thought. So there was a lot of these shots. I mean, there was a lot of like the camera angles were great.
Yeah.
So this is one that was looking down, but there was another one, a lot of other ones that were, the angle was up. I thought was great. There was times where there's like a balcony kind of thing over around his workshop or something. And so you'd have these angled shots. I just thought they were great. So one of the things I thought was interesting is in this trial, which seemed pretty casual, but is that something they do in Mexico or at that time, or they actually would have a cell out in the courtroom and the guy is sitting there behind bars while they're talking about him? And
I'm not sure, because that was also like strange to me.
Okay.
Because I just thought that was.
It's a little prejudicial.
That was a little weird. Yeah. Yeah, that was definitely different for me to see.
But the character witnesses were all like, he's a terrible, evil human being from her side, and then his side was all, he's a wonderful man.
He's a saint, almost.
Yeah.
Now that we're talking about the jail cell, I thought that was funny too. But I now that I'm thinking about it, I feel like I've seen some stories from Britain from a long time ago too. I'm not sure where they have the accused in the courtroom, like separated as well. But I'm not sure if it's in a cell or a cage, or if it's just kind of like in a box somewhere. But yeah, and it also gave a great excuse for lots of cool shots with the light kind of going through the bars and stuff. Yeah.
Well, no, it was strange to see. And the thing that like first came to my mind is like, I've never seen anything like this before. Why is this here? But then I had another thought enter my mind, like maybe because they feel like if someone is dangerous, then they'll contain them. I don't know. Those are the things that came to my mind. I don't know how accurate it is for the time or what, but it was very different for me.
Well, the one mummy, so to speak, is it's her turn to testify, but she's in the bathroom.
Yes.
She finally comes running out, and instead of going to her, the scientists bring in the skeleton, and then that freaks her out, so she runs out again to go to the bathroom again. But he intentionally put this skeleton together to make the knee look misshapen and deformed. And when the scientists analyze it, they go, yeah, that's not her. But the way they do it is that's a comedy routine too, because they do all this scientific mumbo jumbo, and finally the lawyer goes, so is it or isn't it? Well,
Yeah.
I thought I explained it in a way
Right.
anybody could
Any
understand.
idiot would understand this. I know.
Right. It's just it was funny because you see like they're saying no, that's the jaw of a child, or this is this
Uh-huh.
is that the talking about the pelvis and
Right.
Well, and that
Yeah,
was
no,
his
it
whole
Yeah.
that was his whole plan, you know, that he
Yeah.
would be
Mhm.
prosecuted and found not guilty and then would be safe from double jeopardy.
Right.
And
Yeah.
then he goes and confesses to the padre and he can't tell anybody.
And oh, how he enjoyed that.
Oh, he is definitely gloating on that
He
Yes.
loved it.
scene. And then I should have done a picture. So he goes home and his drinking buddies are all there celebrating with him. And then the church council comes in because now they're convinced that she went to the convent.
Mhm.
I think the padre admits that she had talked to him about doing that or something,
Mhm.
apparently. And they all decide to have a drink, and they won't drink tequila and they won't drink beer. And she remembers the alcohol in the cupboard and runs and gets it and pours up drinks
right.
for
Mhm.
everybody. And well, the 4 church council members, I think, wasn't it? Or
Yep.
no, was it
Yep.
was the 2 mummies? Was it the sister and brother-in-law, or was it the historian and the other
I think
woman?
it was-
That's who it was.
I think it was the historian,
Mhm.
the brother-in-law, and was it this?
Anyway,
Yeah.
Yeah.
she brings out 5 glasses, and
Mhm.
Dr.
Yeah.
Morales, Pablo, chugs one down, and the rest of them chug one down, and then the next scene is a funeral procession with 5 caskets.
Oh, I loved it. The end was fantastic.
It's not what I expected.
Not
but it
at
was
all.
Hilarious.
Not at all. And
And
it was
the Padres leading the procession with these long,
Yeah.
vengeful strides.
Right.
He's just.
aha.
But then,
I know.
well, the first 4 all look the same, and then the last one, who I assume was Pablo, is
Yeah, I
a little
assume.
different. And then
Well, because
the
it was his
camera is
friends were
like,
carrying it.
yeah, that's right.
And in the way they were carrying it,
Right.
it was almost
Like
like
they
they
were-
were drunk.
That,
Yes,
yeah, they were
yes.
hungover or drunk or something. Yeah.
And the camera goes underneath the casket and then turns over upside down.
Mhm.
So I didn't know if that was the point of that, to like make it look like he was going to hell or something, you know, because
Yeah.
it was upside down or below. I don't know.
I wasn't sure about that either. I was wondering.
It was
yeah.
interesting.
Mhm.
It was an
Certainly
interesting
was
shot.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seeing things from below.
But that end shot where it right away goes to that procession, I thought was so perfect and
It really was.
so just quick and sharp and then just over, you know. And unfortunately, the priest got the last word. You know,
Yes.
because he had said, you know, I don't remember what he said exactly, but you know, God's justice will
Yeah.
take
Yeah.
over.
I
And so
remember
it's
that.
like,
Right.
you know,
Right.
he's right. But yeah.
Well,
so
and if you
funny.
remember when they were in the bar or the tavern discussing ways to do the perfect murder, the barkeeper or the owner of the bar is always repeatedly says there's no such thing as a perfect murder. They
Mhm.
always forget some little
Something.
detail, something, you know. It's like,
Mhm.
he was right.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think, because
That's
that's
right.
a continuation too, because I think Pablo even says, like, after he's cleaned everything up after the murder, he says something like right before you see the camera pan to the back that's similar to like, okay, I think I've got everything. So that's
Yeah.
like another reference to
I feel like I'm missing
I
something.
feel like, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I feel like
Yes.
I'm missing something. And yeah. See, the
That
script,
nagging
the writing
feeling,
is
yeah.
so good.
Yes, it is.
So the one last thing I wanted to hit on is the music. I thought was great.
It was good.
And the
Mhm.
composer was Raul La Vista.
Mhm.
And talk about renowned. I guess he was one of the top people in Mexico. He won 6 silver Ariels and then also got the golden Ariel as which was reserved for like career, I think,
Wow.
or lifetime achievement. and was nominated more times than I can count here. 10 nominations plus 6 wins. Yeah.
The music was great. And I even loved kind of like how it was really playing into I don't know if it was the novella part or if it was like this dark kind of comedy where it was like lots of da 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 da, you know, like lots of stuff like that happening, very melodramatic. And
you kind of get that at the beginning.
Yeah, exactly. At the beginning, it's like that. It's almost like I swear I hear like an old school blinker or something like a tick 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 tick. It's just, yeah, it was so much fun. Everything.
Well, apparently this was
atmosphere.
Was ranked 19th in the list of the 100 best films from Mexican cinema.
Yeah,
which is
by
awesome.
a magazine, Somos magazine. Well, it was the opinion of 25 film critics and experts that was published in Somos. So yeah, very interesting.
Something else I liked with the sound is I loved like you could definitely hear him when he was sharpening his knife. It was super clear and crisp. And also the oven in the back, like you could hear when it was burnt, like you're like, she's in there, because it was just like burning up really hot and stuff. And he would, you know,
he had it fired up.
That's good. Yeah, he had it fired up and you could hear it.
And he packs up her stuff in these 2 suitcases and throws them in there too, which is like
crazy.
And I love how they kind of incorporated, it was so funny that they incorporated that fertilizer, you know, the fertilizer.
Yeah. Afterwards, the sign says, sale.
Sale. And it's all in the window. It's all in the window next to her skeleton.
But he even jokes about that because he talks about how everybody was happy when he started taking their garbage in and burning it for him. But then when they found out he was selling it for fertilizer, they all would rather pay for pickup than to let him make money off their garbage.
He was definitely making comments you know, about the uptight folks in the neighborhood a lot, like that. And the neighbors, like when he went up and yelled and he like made that face in the window with the 2 mummies watching everything.
That's what she was screaming about him. No, don't hit me. You know? And he's mad and stalks out and they're looking through the window.
Right. Everybody knows what's going on.
I think we mentioned it once, but he also has, there's a shop he frequents apparently that has camera gear and he's interested in this camera. And this woman finally sells it to him at a discount. And when he goes back to get the money, which he keeps hidden in a stuffed jaguar head in his shop.
Perfect.
But his wife knows it's there. She's already come and taken 1,000 pesos and given it to the church.
Father.
And he knows that's what she did. He comes up and takes it back. You know, it's like, I'm not going to let him do that.
And that's what I guess is the breaking point, right? Is that she breaks that camera and that's it. He can't handle it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, and I do remember thinking, because they're always like, she gives him the money and the padre says, oh, you shouldn't, that's your husband's money. And they all say, well, better the church than drinking.
Yes.
And I'm going, well, if he drinks as much as you guys said, why does he have like 12,000 pesos hidden in this jaguar head, or 1,200 pesos or whatever it was? Anyway, it's a fun movie and there's a lot of neat
great
details.
There's a lot of stuff that goes on.
Well directed, well written, well acted, well shot, great production design. So any final
I really
comments?
like this movie.
I
guess that's it.
No, I mean, even though it's not like exactly horror, it's just it's quirky and dark. Like it's sort of in the same vein as like Arsenic and Old Lace, and even like people who have an appreciation for some of the humor, like you said. And oh gosh, I'm having a brain fart, and I know what I'm trying to say. But no, I mean, there's just it's overall like there's just a lot of elements to it that's dramatic and that's dark. There's a lot of appreciation for those elements in this.
Yeah, it's a really fun movie to watch. I like I said, I watched it 3 times and I picked up different things each time.
Yeah.
Very good.
All right, let's move into, we do have some feedback. Let's go with Whitney. The first one there from Mikey Z. Can you?
Yeah.
He has some suggestions for classic era.
Okay. Classic era suggestions from Mikey Z. Hunchback of Notre Dame, 1923, Lon Chaney classic. Not really horror. Been a while since last Silent. All right.
It has. I think was like maybe last fall. The Phantom Carriage maybe was the last.
Yeah.
Was that the last silent one? Wow.
It has been a while since I've done a Silent.
I've got one in mind for my next pick that is from 1952, but it's darn close to a silent film.
Ooh, okay.
Very darn close to a silent film. So I'm still debating whether I want to pick it. So I'm not going to give it away. But anyway, go ahead.
And then the next
that'd be a good
suggestion
one.
is Hangover Square, 1945. Laird Cregar menaces Linda Darnell.
I don't know that one.
Okay.
I don't either.
So I just watched this. This is an awesome movie.
Oh yeah.
This is an incredible movie. I didn't think it was. There was 2 movies made by the director, I think is John Brom and Laird Cregar, at roughly the same time. The first one was The Lodger, which is about Jack the Ripper, a version of it, and Laird Cregar plays the Lodger. And then the second one is this one. So that's a possibility. I haven't looked to see if it's available. That is a really good movie, but it's not a, there's no supernatural, there's no monsters, but it's some crazy stuff. Psychological horror, I guess.
Yeah. And then another suggestion is Dr. Cyclops, 1940. Full Technicolor horror from creators of King Kong.
Fun.
All right. And then
that's another interesting one.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll do that at some point.
Another suggestion is The Manster, 1959, 1960. I keep pushing this low budget, strange Japanese-based tale of the ultimate split personality.
Sounds good.
Cool.
Yeah, that's a great movie too, and we have definitely talked about that. And you don't need to push it, Mikey. It's
no.
At least it's in the back of my head. I've got like half a dozen movies sitting there waiting to go, and then it just kind of depends on what.
The mood.
Talk about freaky deaky. All right. Well, those are good suggestions, and we appreciate suggestions.
Yes.
And you just have to realize we only do one episode every 2 weeks, and we've usually got picks like a month ahead of time. So we'll see what happens. I would probably pick Hangover Square or this other one I'm thinking about for my next pick, but I'll have to see. Or The Manster.
Or The Manster.
I've been thinking about that one
That's
for
3.
a couple years.
That's
Yeah. There's some great Japanese horror. There's a Japanese version of The Invisible Man too that we have to do it
that sounds great.
from around that time. All right, next one is on Kill Baby Kill. Daphne, can you take that one?
Sure. Michael Maurer, thank you for telling me how to pronounce her name. Michael Maurer, like Tower. Thanks for the review. You did it again. Bravo. I have seen the movie before and have watched it multiple times over the years. Bava's movies are awesome. Now, you guys were discussing about how creepy the hallway scene with the candelabras, the arms holding the candlesticks. Have you seen Jean Cocteau's Beauty and the Beast? Cocteau shot the same hallway scene in 1946. It's creepy as shit. Okay, the whole movie is creepy as shit, but beautiful. If you haven't reviewed La Belle at La Bête, I would suggest you to va and put it on your short list. Don't get the dubbed version. Watch the original in French with subtitles, of course. Cocteau takes nuance of creepiness to the highest level. Yeah.
Wow.
Thanks, Mike.
I haven't seen those, but I need to watch those. I would suggest you to va and put it on your short list. That has me intrigued.
Yes.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
I love to hear about people that, you know, it's hard to know when something's actually original, that people use it again in different contexts. And I don't think of it as plagiarism. I think of it as homage almost, you know, or maybe even, you know, to broaden it to a different audience.
Yeah, it's usually when it seems like when it's done well is when you can tell that it's because it's a scene that someone loved, you know, or that someone saw that it really was powerful or whatever. Kind of like how we talked about the Phantom Carriage in that Shining scene. It's like, yeah, I just felt like you could tell he did it different, but it was his version of that, but it was in a respectful way, or like you could just tell that he had respect for that scene or something, and I think that's cool.
So we got another one on Kill Baby Kill, which was episode 130, our last one, from Evil Genius. Whitney, can you take that one?
Sure. All right. Evil Genius. Another truly great Italian horror flick. Between Bava Fulci, am I saying that right? Fulci?
Yep.
And Argento, Italian horror was firing on all cylinders for decades. This movie did the creepy kid right. Questions for Daphne. Did the Grand Illusion Theater play a lot of Styx in the background? The Grand Illusion is an awesome album and song by Styx.
I have a very close friend who loves Styx. I will. You make me think of him because he's constantly trying to get me to listen to Styx.
Oh, okay. And did Scarecrow Video have Miss King Pizza next to it? And yes, the first thing that popped into my head when you said Scarecrow Video was the old TV series Scarecrow and Miss King.
Oh my gosh. That's bad.
Now, see, I
love
think
it though.
I think of the old Disney thing with Patrick McNee, I think, was the Scarecrow. It was a Revolutionary War thing. Anyway.
I gotta say, I would probably have thought of Scarecrow of Mrs. King too, or the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Welcome to the Grand Illusion. Come on in and see what's happening. Pay the price. Get your tickets for the show. All right.
Sounds like some Styx lyrics, probably.
I'm guessing.
Sounds like prog rock. Uh-oh, here we go.
Uh-oh.
So we got a bunch of comments on the crawling eye. So let's get through this one. I'll take this first one.
All right.
From Scott Wells. This is one of my favorite 50s creature features.
All right.
The look of the monsters in this always appealed to me. I definitely remember watching this on a Saturday afternoon on one of the horror hosts here in Cleveland, probably super host Marty Sullivan. I recall that it was on a double bill with some other 50s feature, possibly The Killer Shrews or The Thing from Another World. Two movies we've also covered. I remember Daphne or Whitney picking The Killer Shrews.
Yeah.
And Chad picked The Thing from Another World. I think it was like our 9th or 10th episode. I'm ashamed to admit I didn't realize Jimmy Sangster was the writer of this, The Crawling Eye. I'll have to add this into my personal list of his more obscure writing credits, which includes my favorite episode of Kolchak the Night Stalker, The Horror in the Heights, and even a couple episodes of the Wonder Woman TV show from the 70s. Great podcast, folks. Looking forward to Kill Baby Kill. Baba is always welcome.
Yay.
Well,
Awesome.
we just read his one, or no, that wasn't Scott Wells. That was Evil Genius. So we'll have to look forward to that.
Yeah.
So another one from Evil Genius. Where are we at here? Whitney, did you just do the Grand Illusion one?
Yes.
Okay, Daphne then.
Okay.
around.
Evil Genius. Just want to say, great movie reference, Chad. I instinctively heard Jack Ellam's voice as you said it. I shall raise you. Don't you ever tell me where you found him ever. I have not seen this one, but it is now on my list of movies to check out. Thanks, Grue-Crew, for finding another awesome movie for me to watch. Kill Baby Kill, I've seen. Looking forward to the next show. Did I pronounce Jack Ellam's name correctly?
Well, I think it's
I'm not
Elam.
as Elam.
Elam.
Yeah, I'm not
We
as
always
familiar
said
with
Elam,
him.
but
Elam.
you know who he is, though, right?
I don't. No, I don't.
He's
That's
that
not striking any memories.
pop-eyed guy that's in a lot of westerns. His one eye goes off in a. He's got like a glass eye or a bad eye or something. He's awesome.
Opa had
awesome.
westerns on a lot, and I usually tried to, get him to change a channel. But I may have seen him.
Well, he's in Once Upon a Time in the West.
Mm.
That has one of the opening scenes is Charles Bronson gets off a train, and these three guys are waiting for him. One of them is Woody Strode, and one of them is Jack Elam, and Jack Elam's sitting on the bench, and there's a fly buzzing around him, and he keeps going, blowing the fly off his face. And then at some point it lands on the wall, and he sticks his gun barrel over it, and then has the fly in his gun and is going, and then listening to it buzz around.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, it's just it's one of those classic opening scenes, Sergio Leone scenes that drags on forever.
Well, I shouldn't make fun of
It's
westerns.
okay.
I actually kind of like them. It's just like the only time that Opa would hijack the TV would be news at 5 o'clock, local news 6 o'clock, and the national news. The rest of the time we could pretty much watch whatever we wanted, unless it was Clint Eastwood week, or which was hell for me. And then or some westerns. But I did learn to appreciate westerns, so I shouldn't make fun of westerns, but yeah.
Okay.
I hated Clint Eastwood week.
Very short side story. I took my granddaughters or my grandkids, 2 granddaughters and grandson, to The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly at the theater. And it was, believe it or not, there is an extended cut. So
really?
It was 3 hours long. And when we came out of the theater, I asked my granddaughter what she thought, and she said, "Well, there's 3 hours I'll never get back."
Oh
no.
Major burn. Even I was kind of getting bored.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it seems apropos that it's Whitney's turn for the next one from Jerry Chandler.
Oh no.
Oh
Okay.
God, I have to read this one because because it's the crawling eye, I mean,
Yeah.
a band named Tan Genitals. Dang it, Chad, why couldn't you be here? Didn't they tour one summer with the Lovin' Spoonful?
Oh my God, that is so hilarious.
Wow.
Chad took Whitney's stumbling
Lord.
over tangential and turned it into tangential.
Yes. And I thought to myself, like, there's no way I said that. Did I really say that? But no, it was Chad who
No, you didn't
mess with me.
Oh, that's so
Oh
funny.
my God.
The Lovin' Spoonful.
Oh,
wow. Way to go, Jerry.
Oh.
All right, and there's one from Mona Lisa on the crawling eye. Daphne, you want to take that one?
Sure. Mona Lisa, you 4 make me smile so much. I just watched Mr. Sardonicus because of your review. Loved it. Hey.
Oh, that's awesome.
nice.
Can't wait to see what
Thank
you
you.
think of The Crawling Eye, which I have never seen. Thanks so much for the time you all out into your videos.
Oh.
Probably put.
But yeah, probably.
Spell
For all the
correct.
time you put out in all your videos. Back to the report that I loved it. I really did have a Quatermass feel, like Chad said. I love how they called Molotov cocktails bombs. Yeah, that was great. I wish you all could do a top 10 list where you each named your top 10 horrors from the classic era?
Hmm.
You know what? We might have to do that. Our very first episode, which was with Aaron and Joseph Perry and Chad and I, we started by doing our favorite movies from each decade. Not a top 10, just a couple, but maybe it's time to do that again, because I'm betting it would have changed since then.
That's a good point. Yeah.
And you guys haven't done that. So
that's a good point, because I've seen a lot of movies I hadn't seen before that I really, really liked.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right. And then we have one from, I have no idea, Akatanaka or Akatanaka or anyway.
Aw.
They say, laugh out loud, way to go, Daphne. Loved your eye-catching mask and playful white spaghetticals.
Oh my gosh.
Keep it coming. Keep it coming.
Thanks for making me cackle out loud so much that I cleared my head in sinuses and probably scared my neighbors.
Aw. You guys are my peoples. You guys are my peoples.
That's excellent. Thanks. And gentle thanks to innocent Whitney, who will never live down something she never said.
Oh my
Of course,
God, Chad.
Chad, as usual, is the witty villain of this piece. As always, Jeff, you kept everything from going completely gonzo and into the clouds with your interesting trivia bits. I just love this movie. So he adds a bunch of information here. So,
oh, cool.
Lawrence Payne, who was the newspaper guy, is less than 2 years away from playing Joseph opposite Mary in the landmark 1959 blockbuster Ben-Hur, and years from his heroic role in Hammer's Vampire Circus. Yeah, we didn't get into their backgrounds too much on that one. So appreciate the picking up after us there. Janet Monroe is just breaking out of her juvenile roles for Disney, and will finally do so with her upcoming risque turn in the excellent The Day the Earth Caught Fire, with her fleeting nude scene at a mirror. That I remember mentioning. And Darby O'Gill and the Little People she was in. Composer Stanley Black, who worked on the score to The Flesh and the Fiends, in a few years would become famous for his numerous Decca Phase 4 recordings on vinyl of great movie soundtracks. I'm always amazed at the level of professionalism in these very low-budget films from the 50s. These people were tops at what they did, and despite the general disrespect these movies garnered back then, they gave us memorable work. I think a lot of times that the low budgets is what sometimes forces creativity out of people. So it's it can be nasty, but it can be cool too. All right, let's see. Despite the low quality of the special effects, the visual uniqueness of the alien eye wouldn't be equaled until the equally low-budget Island of Terror, with their turtle-like silicates and their inspired victims menacing Peter Cushing. And that's something I want to say that's when Joseph Perry used to talk about doing. Thanks again for your many transgenital insights into this
Oh my God.
fun film.
It's Whitney's "oh my God" is cracking me up.
And then P.S. I forgot this little bit of trivia from my former post. Andrew Faulds, who plays Brett, which we remember the evil Brett, eventually had a successful career in politics as a member of parliament for Britain's Labour Party from 66 to 97. Wow. Would you trust a politician who once carried a severed head around in his knapsack and got impaled by a skeleton from Greek mythology and Jason and the Argonauts, and didn't think much of Elizabeth Taylor in Cleopatra? I think
See,
not.
there's something behind Brett. We knew.
There was something there. And then I think the last one for today, while we're running along here, from episode 124 of the Mask of Fu Manchu, I forget who's next. So
Is it me?
I think so.
Could be, yeah.
All right, Mikey Z. First, the Mask of Fu Manchu. First full speaking role in a genre film for Boris Karloff in this now considered non-PC classic. Did you say classes? Or is it classic?
Well, he means classic, I'm sure.
Okay. Okay.
I should.
Pre-code tale with the yellow peril as the main driving theme. Freud would have a field day with Follow C as portrayed by Myrna Loy in an early role. Here is a character that is looked upon by her father, Fu Manchu, as a lesser being, and the ways she treats other characters in this film as compensation. All right. One of best pre-code horror films right up there was 1932's other essentials, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and Island of Lost Souls. With modern eyes, with this might turn off today's viewers, but see it through the eyes of early 30s audiences, and you will have fun. An unspeakably foul. Good time. Okay, good time with the various melodramatics acting, tortures, and downright goofiness that Hollywood brought to Depression-era audiences. Okay. And again, great podcast by the Grue-Crew, and I am continually jealous of you on the GC that this was their first time seeing this classic. Mikey Z's Wayback Machine.
You know, this is a perfect example of a film I probably never would have watched on my own.
Yeah, I don't think I would have either.
So happy I watched. It is a little uncomfortable, but the Kenneth Strickfaden stuff was awesome. I couldn't even. Yeah. His ion cannons or guns or whatever they were. Jeez. And the torture spike thing.
Yes.
That was a great. Anyway.
The James Bond evil, I'll leave you here as the sand weight pulls this other thing down.
Yes.
You can escape. Yeah.
That's right. Drops you into the pit of alligators or crocodiles or whatever. All right. As usual, we're just having too much fun. We're really running long here. But please send in your feedback, subscribe, like, share, get alerts so you know whenever there's something coming up from Decades of Horror and Gruesome Magazine. And by the way, we have there are 3 decades of horrors: the classic era up through 1969, then the 70s and the 80s. There's also the Gruesome Magazine podcast, which does horror movies. Originally it was just for streaming horror movies, but now it's for theatrical as well. So check those out there. And Horror News Radio, which will be, I think, weekly or semi-weekly 30-minute podcast with horror news. So check all those out. And be sure to check out our Patreon. If you want to be a Patreon, we appreciate anything you can contribute to help pay for servers and equipment and festivals and stuff like that. You can find that on our website. Just click on that Patreon button, and patrons get Decades of Horror from a week to 2 weeks, probably from a week to 12 days early. So you get that plus other content. So every 2 weeks, we'll be back with another specific film released between 1920 and 1969. Next up, chosen by Chad, is Son of Dracula from 1943, starring Lon Chaney Jr.
Okay. I haven't seen that one.
It's a Universal.
Yeah.
So yeah, 40s is a very strange decade for horror films. There's a few favorites in there, but then otherwise it's kind of, you got to do some digging. So we'll find out what we think about this one. All right. Catch us again here in 2 weeks with another great horror movie of the classic era. Only Decades of Horror can do it. And I'm sure Chad will be back, or we'll pick a different movie because we're not going to do his pick if he's not here. So hopefully he'll be feeling better and his voice will be in full force. Thank you, Whitney and Daphne, for sticking with me for this whole show.
Of course.
Why is it? Why do 3 of us talk longer than 4 of us? Good movie. It's a good movie.
Good movie.
Mm-hmm.
Say goodnight.
Good night.
Good night.